Good evening, everyone. How are we all tonight? Yeah, you
Doing
are.
all right, man.
Yes, the debates have already begun. Um, oh, Darnell has disappeared. All right,
What?
there we go, and he's back.
Oh, what happened?
It just waited until now to catch up to that whole. Oh, by the way, you don't have a camera thing.
He's so
It
mysterious.
still shows no camera, and I'm muted, by the way. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Tonight's
All
show
right.
is brought to you by EV Mux.
Yeah, we do love to hate on EV Mux. Chat, you need to let me know if you can also hear and see Darnell, because we can, but
Yeah.
the system seems quite determined to convince us that he should not be visible to anyone.
I should not be here tonight.
Yes, the universe is trying to make him leave. So I'm looking at it on my phone. I can see you and
Yeah,
hear.
I can't. I can't.
It's fine.
All right. Um, I guess Max doesn't like the show either.
I mean, fair enough.
All right.
Gay Break Mountain is my favorite classic cowboy movie.
Tay Diggs does give that vibe off a little bit.
I was gonna say Chad and Brett get pretty close this episode.
All right, so I want to say hello to the chat. Rio Legatus, Peepers. Darnell is already interacting. Thank you very much, because it's very hard for me to do that while running 40 million screens.
Yeah.
And Max, who is Max, who apparently doesn't like this show. Hanayama, welcome. Happy to see you here. And Legatus is also doing us the favor of greeting, I think, every single person in the chat. So awesome. So last week we learned talking does something. Let's see if the writers remember that fact. And Damos, welcome. So Jill had to take this week off, and Cindy apparently has decided she's going to have to take the rest of the series off.
Well, she had surgery today, right?
I wasn't going to say that out loud, but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
does in fact have some personal stuff, so yeah.
I apologize.
But so we wish her all the best and hope everything comes out well. So I think before we get started, I said I was going to start taking scores at the beginning of the episode. I seem to get the impression that this one went over better than some others so far.
Yep.
Jacob, what do you think?
Best one so far. It's the last one has moved down in rank. I forget which one I said was the best one last week so far. But
yeah,
this one is the best so far.
Yeah, I think it was like one was okay, 3 was pretty good, 4 was like top the charts, and then 5 is beat out all of them. Is that the?
Yeah, that's pretty much the consensus, I think.
Well,
at least he didn't throw a
Yeah, let's not get into the hourglass yet.
Okay.
Welcome to Ben and to Jedi Master. Welcome. Eraser, what did you think of this episode?
I was pretty happy with the episode. I thought it was, I agree with Jacob, probably the best episode so far. And it's the first time in a while with the show that it really feels like we're moving somewhere. The first 4 episodes, between being just a mixed bag in general, they started to feel a bit stagnant. And I obviously, like, we're in a time loop. I know things are going to get repetitive, but it was getting a bit stale. And this episode it's refreshing, man. I was overall happy with it. There's some minor stuff here and there I think is a bit ridiculous, but the ends justify the means.
Well, and I think it's the nature of 2000s television to be ridiculous anyway. Didn't you also say you thought 4 was the best so far at that point, or
No,
am
I
I
said
misremembering?
3. I remember saying 3 at the time was the best episode, and then 4 was a bit of a shaky mess. Cool stuff, but a lot of inconsistencies and odd things happening.
Oh yeah, that's right. You didn't like the argument that was in 4.
I didn't have a problem with the argument. I had a problem with its placement in a specific scene, but yeah.
Well, yeah. That's what I meant. You had an issue with the fact that it was in 4 and not earlier.
Yes.
Okay, Kilo.
Yeah, this was definitely my favorite episode so far. This is not surprising because there is a lot of Adam Baldwin in this episode, who I just adore looking at, essentially.
Attractive guy.
Yeah, also just an excellent actor.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that this benefited a lot from being very different from the previous episodes in terms of structure and where the action takes place. The normally very shaky and chaotic editing kind of works in the context of a claustrophobic, paranoid police siege.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is kind of nice that we're getting some days that we see more of instead of just kind of the flip through. We get a couple of flip throughs and then we really focus on the last one. So
yeah, this would have been a lot worse if it spliced in more multi-day stuff. The focus on one solid series of events in one day really helped it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, agreed. I will say there were some things that I found So I have made the argument.
Also, to clarify, I have a big caveat, which is the setup for how this episode happens is incredibly stupid.
Like I said, ends justify the means, man. I give it a pass. It's not great, but I give it a pass.
Remember this, chat.
Remember he said he was going to give it a pass, so that when he does, in case he doesn't give it a pass, or remember it so that when you mention the caveat.
Remember, chat, when you see these events, if you would give them a pass, do some introspection.
Oh, like I said, dude, it's stupid. I'm so happy for the show to get fucking moving that it's not great, but I'm willing to look past it for the sake of enjoyment and the future of the fucking show here. Yeah. Sacrifices got to be made, people.
Well, again, I said this backstage. The X-Files had a number of very ridiculous Monster of the Week episodes that everyone just kind of gave a pass because that was the time period. There were a lot of other shows that had very similar types of things. So I wasn't really joking when I said, ridiculous is kind of the name of the game for.
You guys remember in X-Files when Scully and Mulder got over in an argument over a binder and shot each other in the stomach?
Well, I don't remember that, but
I forgot about that.
I'll have to, Jacob. You'll have to look up for me which episode that is.
It happened today.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yesterday.
All right, Darnell.
Yes, I would put this right up there with the first episode, because I really liked the first episode because it was a good premise, and I find they did it well. 2, 3, and 4 was just kind of like, hey, here's 85 different side stories. I really liked it, but the last minute made me really like it. It made me want to keep watching the episode, and I didn't want to stop watching. I want to scroll. I want to skip. I want to cheat and watch ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You might answer what I was going to ask you.
Okay, I was just gonna say that like when Adam Baldwin is about to be after he handcuffs Hopper, and when he talks to him, that was like I actually kind of jumped up, was like, what? And but in excitement, not like I didn't believe it. So it was, yeah. Would you ask?
Well, they try and end on sort of cliffhangers about a bunch of on the end of every episode. Do you feel like this was the most effective cliffhanger? I
don't think it was a cliffhanger. It paid off because he said what he said. Then remember the last scene shows he confirms what he said.
We have a tremendous amount of background noise from somebody. Oh, now it stopped.
I think it's self-contained that we know he wants to solve this mystery. The episode is how he figures out the answer, but we don't see the answer yet, but we know he has it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just referring to, I don't want to give it away for the chat before we get there, what he specifically says when he whispers in his ear. and then he wakes up the next day and confirms, "Oh shit!" Like
Mhm.
he believes me. And so yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that I'll talk more about that when we get there. That was actually one of the most interesting things to me about the whole. But
I was hoping they were going to go somewhere with that because he kept referring to certain like books talking about time travel and stuff.
mhm. So we start out with we do not start out with a recap.
Waking up scene.
Oh, and we also don't start with like them just doing the same thing, which has been the two ways we've started episodes before. We
It's
start
kind of a
the day
cold
is
open.
yeah, we start yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. It's a cold open. It's we start with their day already starting. He's driving her to work. She snags a notepad out of his hand. He has apparently been writing everything he can remember down again.
Yep.
Yep.
I thought, okay, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought it disappears, but I forgot. He wakes up and writes it down.
Yeah, he's made a
down.
habit of it.
Yeah.
I assume that's why he's driving with it in his hand. He's probably
Yeah.
being one of those responsible drivers and writing and driving at the same time.
Right.
That's about as smart as anything else this character does.
But he's writing not only the things that he needs to do going forward, like, you know, call Margot, Damien at the. So call Margot. He's written himself a reminder to keep her from getting hit by a bus every day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's written himself down the reminder to ditch the GPS and to ditch the gun, and so he's apparently just going through and doing all of these things every morning to make sure that he like doesn't screw it up and forget something.
Although,
Yeah.
weird point, the ditch gun here, they find the gun in his closet later in this episode, so he doesn't actually do that.
Well, I mean, it's not like he has a checkoff list, so I don't know that. Because he says he still has to do some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this may be a list of things that he still has to do moving forward, not necessarily things that he's already done.
And they're also
So
definitely not in order because call Margot is before switch batteries.
Yeah, I was going to say one would assume he switched the batteries, but like he makes it, or she questions him about calling Margot. And he talks about, you know, the fact that he has to see somebody about evidence, and so he definitely has not done some of the things on that list, at least. So she asks him about Sid, and he says, "There's a Sid on there," and it turns out it, you know, stands for Scientific Investigation Division. And so he basically gives her kind of a rundown of the things that he's planning on doing, and she says, "It sounds like you're having a busy day," and he says, "Yeah, but like, I'm feeling really good about it finally." Yeah, I think I agree with Hamayana. He wrote it down in the order he remembered, not in the to-do order.
Right.
He sees the daylight. They said the name of the show. The title makes sense now, guys. Except he didn't really, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he asks if he calls the office and says, "Is anyone checking for me?" And they say no, so he knows that it's currently safe for him to go in. They have not yet put out a manhunt for him. And he does get questioned by his captain. His captain says, "There's this moment of," he says, "I know what's going on," and he goes,
You do.
"You do?" And he goes, what time's your meeting with internal affairs?" And he's like, 3:00. And he's like, "All right, good for you. Don't do anything stupid." So there's your foreshadowing for the episode.
It's a literary device. This is a very like, oh no, it's not a jump scare, but it's a quick like setup, and then they purposely don't pay it off in terms of the threat.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that you have to assume that the call he's on right here when he says, "I'll be there in 15," is the call from the captain that we hear about later when he says, "The captain wants to see me, something about Hopper."
Mm-hmm.
So he heads over to the guy in charge of, the evidence immediately irritates him by tapping his bobblehead. So the guy is immediately cranky.
Okay, why set the bobblehead if you don't want people to touch it? Why set it right there? It's almost asking for somebody to do it.
Because look at him. He is a
Because the scene wouldn't-
miserable human being who needs a reason to be miserable. He puts it out on display where he knows people will touch it to then complain about people touching it.
The joke
Keep it
wouldn't
behind
happen
your-
if he didn't do this, so we'll give it a pass. It makes stuff happen.
There's I think it's more than that. Like, so first of all, this is probably a place that officers never come unless they want something.
Yeah, there's that too.
Which means he might be able to go like all day without anyone actually showing up at the desk. He does already look like his day is going really badly, aside from the bobblehead. And so he may simply be snappy about the bobblehead more because he's already... You know how little things irritate you when you're already having a bad day?
Yeah.
And again, I'm headcanoning here a little bit, but he's definitely... I mean, he's got headphones on. He's looking at voice recordings.
Which is odd.
Is
the
it?
clerk. He's the clerk. I don't see why he should be going over.
He's not a clerk, is he? He's the
one running fingerprints.
yeah.
Okay.
He's a forensicist.
Makes sense. I guess I'm just thinking of other shows with LAPD in it. They have like a whole office of people that do that. Usually the guy at the desk is the clerk, so that's...
Well, that would be all the more reason for him to be cranky because, from what we find out, he's very overworked and he appears to be the only guy. They say later on he can't do a fingerprint on a murder case that has to do with a hostage situation currently going on because he's backed up with another important case. The other thing is we know that this is really early in the morning, and yet he's already here, headphones plugged in, going over evidence. So he may have had a real early morning, too. Either that or he is way more diligent about getting in and buckling down and immediately going to work, as opposed to, I gotta sit and have my coffee for a while first.
Yeah.
But it is weird that a department of this size appears to only have one guy.
Yeah.
Though apparently, I read an article once that said that before CSI came out, these officers were chronically understaffed. And it would take months to get information done because they would be running entire departments with just a couple of people.
Yeah. That's currently how it is in Louisiana. There's one lab for the entire state. So every bit of evidence that needs to be run against something is sent to this one lab. So 64 different counties send their stuff to this one place.
So time for a CSI reboot.
Right. In addition to all the police departments as well.
Yeah, it's I did kind of think about it and go, if he's the only guy there, what happens when he goes on vacation? Does no evidence get processed?
He never goes on vacation.
Well, that would also explain why
he's like
in a
the
busy
guy
mood.
in Moon. He has to work all the time.
He has a cot in the back.
There's a clone, ready in
He goes
case
on
something happens
vacation
to
in
him.
winter when there's less crime.
And Brett is really quite rushed here, and so he says, "I'll have it for you in a week," and Brett's like, "No, I need it today," and he's like, "Well, I can't do that,
Well, he says, "Well, why don't you go back a week from now?"
Right, and then I'll have it for you today.
Yeah, and the look that Brett gives him.
Yes, I thought he knew. I thought he knew something.
It's quick and it's subtle, but he's disgusted because
Well, the face he gave him when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this dude knows something's up," because he specifically gave him that, and just gave him this look of read between the lines, dude. I'm trying to tell you something.
No, it's just that he's that miserable.
Yeah,
he would say something that nasty because Goat said, he's pretty busy.
Well, I mean, think how insulting it would be if you were backed up a week, you're the only person there, and somebody's like, "No, you have to do this for me."
Right. No, I get it, but tying into the end of the episode, and actually a couple people throughout the episode, when Hopper says something, they give a reaction of "Oh, he knows." Mm-hmm. He realizes what's happening. That's what made me think this guy's look was "Hey, I'm trying to tell you something."
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, I was like, oh, that's what that look was for.
Hamayana says, imagine if he goes to Chipotle and gets diarrhea. No one's getting evidence for anything.
Nope.
I was watching a pilot that makes videos recently, and he was talking about a pilot that got arrested for attempting to pilot a passenger plane drunk, and it took 30 days to get a blood test result. Ooh.
Yeesh.
So he asked him to
That's your
look up the
local
case.
vet clinic.
Say again?
Just take that blood test to your local vet clinic.
Local
They'll do it
vet
faster.
clinic. Yeah. Yeah, so he asked him to look up a case number. And this is the exact same expression that Chad had when he said, I need you to look up for me who has this book. And Chad was like, do you want me to do more of your work for you? Like, what else? This is the exact same expression. Why don't you just look it up yourself? So he starts to tell him, and he's like, so wait, you want a case from 1991? So he rattles the number off. The interesting thing is that it may be, we've been talking a lot about the memory thing. He does have it written down, but later he rattles it off to Chad, without ever looking at anything. So again, it kind of makes you wonder, how his memory is being affected by all of this. But yeah, this would be even more of a reason for him to be irritated. This case is from 1991, and you need me to interrupt what I'm doing to do your job for you.
Well, that's. I'm glad you put it that way. That's something that always irritates me in TVs and TV shows and movies when the people will look at the cop and like, "What? I'm supposed to do a job for you?" A cop's job is to ask you questions and you give the answers. That's what a cop's job is, and that's what the cop is doing when you're like, "Go do your job." They are. They're asking questions.
I would assume he probably could have looked it up, though.
I don't know. Some places are very particular about who's allowed what information. I can't look up when I was a cop. I could not look up other departments, other divisions' cases. It would notify our IT.
But he's a homicide detective, and it's a homicide. So I would assume that he could look it up either way.
I think he normally could, but the fact that it was pulled by IA complicated that, which they mentioned a couple episodes ago.
Well, and he's probably also trying to stay out of where his office is.
Yeah, he probably doesn't want to sign in because that's going to tell everyone where he is.
Yep.
So he has very good reasons for not looking it up, even if he could. But hey, Adam. So he says that's weird. You're the second person to look at this in the last couple of days, and IA opened this case, and of course he already knows that somebody from IA has the murder book. So,
well, I think he specifically says some tool in IA, Chad Sheldon, and one of the things I do find funny about the episode is that everyone in the police department, no matter what, no matter where they work, everyone recognizes that Chad is an asshole.
Absolutely.
This guy makes the comment here. This guy makes the comment here. Spivak and Choi, when they talk later, they make a similar comment about how Chad's an asshole. But the interesting thing is that some of the things that Chad does in the episode, you very much kind of respect him for, and everyone else is calling him an asshole, but you're he's starting to, you're starting to grow on you.
Well, but he doesn't say Chad Sheldon is a tool. He says some tool in IA. I don't think it's Chad. I think it's the fact that he's internal affairs.
Could be it.
Which, stop me if I'm wrong, Darnell, but wasn't that at that point in time, wasn't there still a real...
Oh, yeah.
IA,
everyone hated you. Yeah, if you were IA, everyone hated you.
Because he doesn't he doesn't talk like he knows who Chad is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge department, too. Like I said last week, I think LAPD has something in the realm of 3,000 officers. That's just patrol uniform. I could be wrong on the number, but I think it's in the thousands.
That was 19 years ago, though, so I don't know what the numbers were.
It could have been even more back then. before like IA came and started like hacking, like arms off of
Yeah.
station substations.
Yeah,
Hey.
you guys are right about him probably not knowing Chad personally, but I still find it interesting that whether people know him personally or just because he's an internal affairs officer, there's a lot of shit thrown at him this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of
And,
anti-Chad
and
stuff.
it's
It's
really,
interesting.
but at the same time, it is the first time you do kind of respect him more than you have any other episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that was done on purpose. The whole throwing shit at him, so you
Oh
can,
no,
like you said, respect him at the end.
I'm sure it was. I just
Yeah.
it's one of the things I like the way it was done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a commonality in television to get you to root for the underdog. And, Brett is the underdog through most of this episode, but when people are crapping on Chad the whole time, you're more willing to kind of change your mind and be a little nicer to him because now he's a little bit of an underdog. I just want to say that despite the weather report that we had going, we have a sudden random thunderstorm going on. So if I am suddenly separated from the group, you will know why.
If Goat gets smited, you'll be the first to hear about it, chat.
Yep.
Yes, if I am smote. So he goes in, he says, I need the murder book. And, like, no lead in, no good morning, no how are you, just give me the book. And Chad's just like, I mean, honestly, consider how much Chad dislikes him. He's pretty polite to him here, considering the way
Yeah.
he comes busting through the door.
Yeah, he knows Chad hates him. He should have entered the room and been a little different than that. That was a little weird.
Yep.
Yeah, when you need something from someone who doesn't like you and has a reason not to like you, maybe you should be a little, more kind about
Less
it.
of a dick.
Yeah, I was trying to find a nicer way to put that, but yeah, less of a dick. So he says, it was a case my father worked on. It was an unsolved murder mystery. And Chad says, well, he had a lot of those.
That was cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I found interesting in this whole setup is it striking as weird that Chad apparently works in the dark?
I mean, I thought the lighting
He
was
was born in
interesting,
it.
but you're right. It does not make a lot of logical sense.
I don't know if it's that he just got in, because it seems like it's light out in the area. Like maybe he literally just hasn't had time to turn things on, but
Yeah.
So he reaches into the filing cabinet while he's talking about the case, and he pulls out a book or binder and flips through it and then puts it back and says, I don't know, maybe I know where the book is. And he's like, why are you messing with me? And he's like, because I don't like you. Like, he's so matter of fact about it. He's just like, I don't like you.
This is why I like this episode. Seeing Adam Baldwin do stuff like this.
So then he gets a call. He gets a little smirky, and he tells Brett that the call is for him, but he glances out the window past Brett, and he turns around and looks and realizes that he's being arrested. He does the whole, I'm not, and we kind of jump a lot here. This is very much a fast forward. He's being questioned,
Yep.
not saying a thing till you bring me Rita.
We've seen this before.
Yeah, we've seen this before. This is different though. He's chained to a bench with this guy. And we have flashes of where he's seen before, and he says, I thought it was going to be different this time. You know what I'm talking about. You're the same, you and I. A couple flies in the ointment. And he says,
Yeah, give me your arm. I'll show you.
Yeah, I can show you. Give me your arm quick before they take us away, or they take one of us away. And he grabs his arm and he proceeds to bite him. And then he starts screaming, we all just taste like chicken.
This is our ominous, ambiguously crazy person for the series.
This is the crossover with the X-Files they were planning. It just didn't pan out.
Like Mr. Miyagi, but he's feral.
So Pat Morita in real life. Got it.
So once again, we have the scene where they come in to get him, but this time he's faking being injured, and he really gives in a few good licks, but there are 2 of them and 1 of him. So he blacks out again, and once again wakes up duct taped. Oh, this time,
Well,
this time they put duct tape on him.
yeah, this time he's got duct tape.
I do appreciate that fight doesn't get dragged out any longer than it should have been.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been like an easy chance for them to kind of kill some time, but they make it pretty believable. You know, he's aware that the fight's coming, so he gives it a shot, but, you know, there's too many of them. Like I said, I remember saying last week that, you know, him driving the car off the road felt like it was there for the sake of having some type of action in the episode. And I think they could have done the same thing here, but it, like I said, they held themselves back. It was quick, it was to the point, and yeah, I thought it worked well.
I think the other thing is that this episode has a lot going on, and I don't know that there was any room. Like, that may have been a longer fight scene, and they may have clipped it just in order to make it fit.
And you know what though, like even
It
if there was
works.
a longer fight scene, I would have been happier with this one anyway.
Yeah, it works well. So he rolls over and he sees that Rita is there this time. They don't do this on camera. She does great. I'm stressed and terrified and don't know what's going on face. I'm also really hoping that just looks like duct tape and they did not actually put duct tape on people's mouths, because all I can think of is, oh my God, that is dedication.
We see them take it off later, and it comes off easier than duct tape would.
Yeah.
I just kind of cringed. Especially since he's got the goatee.
Yep.
That would be a wax job you would not want to get.
Imagine if he got captured like this multiple times, and they kept taking him, and like one day he wakes up and he's just like clean shaven suddenly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would think after a couple of times he'd just be like, you know what? I've decided I'm going to fully shave today. Just.
Hey, his facial hair is probably not growing, actually.
He shaves every morning.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember his body keeps aging.
I haven't been keeping up with that. Fair enough.
The bullet hole keeps healing every day.
So he tells her, you know, I'm going to get you out of this. Everything's going to be all right. Like, it's okay. And then the voice comes and he says, I wouldn't make promises if I were you. And he says, look, I will confess. You can have all the stuff, you know, it's fine. Like, I will give you everything. I will confess to whatever you want. And he says, well, you're saying that because you're scared. And then he says, you know, are you familiar with deja vu? And of course, Brett, like every time someone says something like that, Brett's immediately like, does somebody else know? And he says, I'm reminded of another Hopper in another time, in another place. And he's like, what? And he said, yeah, I was generous, like, back then.
His dad.
And
it's his dad.
Yeah.
And, you
but
know,
he's thinking
now
now
it's come back to bite me. Well, he knows that this is a case his dad worked on, so I don't know that he does. I don't know that he does. I think he just doesn't quite understand what he's saying.
Yeah, it's ambiguous, where it's like, oh, is he talking about Hopper? But he's probably talking about Hopper Sr.
So we get the same speech about, you know, actions have consequences, and he says, like, you can have the hourglass, you can have the picture, and he says, oh, like, you're more familiar with this than I thought. And he's like, no, I'm not. I don't know what any of it means. I just have them. I don't know what they mean. You can have them. Like, just let her go. And this is the deja vu thing. And he says, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So they end up dragging Rita off. It is interesting that they showed him a video of her getting shot, and they dragged her off and they shoot her. but they don't just shoot her in front of him.
Yes.
Um, so you notice he stopped saying, "I'll kill you."
Mm-hmm.
Now he's just kind of gotten into the like pleading and desperation stage when things go wrong. Um, so he says, again, the sister is threatened, the kids are threatened. Um, and he says, like, I have to do this because it needs to be clear how serious I can be. And you hear the shot, or you hear her scream, you hear the shot, and then he once again is given an injection. Though this time he does not pass out immediately. There's lots of screaming. And then we have kind of another cold open this time to them sitting at a breakfast table. And it did occur to me, it's been a couple episodes since he watched her get shot, so it may have kind of had, kind of the same impact. Whereas when she gets shot, well, let's see, she gets shot, Andrea gets shot. She gets shot a couple of times?
And he says 3 times later.
Yeah, he does. I'm trying to remember when the third time is.
I can't remember.
So anyway, she's telling a story about a pregnancy, which is interesting because she was working in the ER before, and now she appears to be working in maternity.
Well, to be fair, they could have been happening in the ER if there's an emergency, like labor from some emergency, and they get into the ER. A lot of times they don't have time to get a OB in there. They have to just go in,
Well, she says he runs back into the birthing room. I think though we see her in the ER after the bus crash, and so I think
helps,
she's probably in the ER for that because they do tend to pull nurses. This is an area I know about. They do tend to pull nurses from other floors if there's a big
Or
crisis.
she used to work in maternity and now works in the ER.
True, that's also though most people consider ER to be a demotion. Like getting out of the emergency room is usually a
You might get paid more, but it's a demotion, yeah.
well, because you're more likely to get killed in the emergency room than most places.
Yep.
Yeah, rushes into the delivery room. So she says, she never finishes the story. She says, I'm really boring you. And he says, no. It's, of course he is listening to her. It's just that he's kind of processing like you died again. Like I failed again.
This scene would be so much better if they didn't play the sappy piano music.
Yeah, it's it happens. I believe in episode 2 as well when he gets shot, and then they're driving off in the car, where the show just tries to slap this like overly emotional music over scenes that just don't need it.
Yeah.
And it's the problem is it's not even music that like is emotional. It's music that's trying to be emotional. It's just like, I set my MIDI keyboard to atmosphere and, look at me, I'm so deep. Like the music is not good in this show.
Yeah.
And
interesting. I have completely failed to notice anything about the soundtrack. I've just ignored it. It's just white noise.
It
it's
feels like
white
they
noise.
told the composer to make a bunch of songs for like emotional situations, but
Well,
didn't tell him what the plot was.
It's
There's
Steve Accounting
nothing-
who's doing the score.
there's nothing about the music that grabs you. I mean, it's just
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that usually, unless it's
background.
very bad or very good, I don't even notice soundtracks.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the whole point of a soundtrack is to not get noticed.
Yeah, but I
So
think
now
the problem I think the problem here is that most of the soundtrack is very like 2005 basic cop show music
Right.
that does kind of just sit in the background to do its own thing.
Mhm.
The problem is a lot of scenes with Brett and Rita, they try to slap that overly emotional music over the scene,
Yeah.
and it just misses its mark so bad.
I mean,
Like Philo said, it would have a
music-
much better effect if they just
Mu-
left it
in
alone.
some-
They're trying way too hard.
music in something when you have moments like that should make you feel something, and it's just like fuzz in the background. It's not really.
I'm going to have to go back and watch it again now and actually pay attention, or at least going forward, I'll have to pay attention to the music more. Because, like I said, I always assume that unless it's very good or very bad, it's just white noise. So I assume if I don't notice it, it can't be awful. So she makes this little joke about, my nurse stories aren't exciting, is like, you know, where's the bomb? And she kind of jumps him, and he actually does jump a little.
Which is weird because my wife is a nurse and we tell stories all the time and they're both interesting. I find.
Well, but that's the thing, is that it's not that he's not finding it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's that he's
But-
really.
He's
But is it-
obsessing over. Look at my girlfriend who is alive right now. I
But the
like
fact
her
that
being
she
alive.
said that, was just weird to me.
Well, she might. I don't know. Maybe she's feeling a little insecure because she doesn't feel like
Overthinking
she's
it.
being
I thought it
listened
was
to.
kind of like a
She's a
cheeky
bomb
Dark
on the
Knight
glass
reference, but this came
kitchen,
out 2 years earlier.
So he kind of like smiles, and she's basically talking about how sweet he is and the fact that, you offered to drive me to work and now we're having breakfast, and kind of what's going on. And he says, I'm just really happy that you're here. And she kind of does this like, who are you and what have you done with my boyfriend? Kind of suggesting that like he's not always quite so I mean, he's seemed lovey-dovey before, but maybe not deep. Maybe not like really open and honest kind of lovey-dovey. And he basically finally tells her, like, I'm working on this new case. I don't know what these people are going to do. If you can't get in touch with me, like, call Chad and he'll protect you. And it is interesting that despite all of their differences, despite the fact that he's seen Chad like at his house with his girlfriend, despite the fact that he has these insecurities, every single time his answer is, if I can't keep her safe, Chad will. Like, despite their relationship, he apparently has no question whatsoever that
Yeah.
either Chad will do the right thing or that Chad cares about her, or both. And there are a couple of those moments in this where, like, they hate each other and yet, they still know each other and they know each other's strengths.
Yeah.
So she gets worried. She's like, what are you trying to say? Hamayana says, because he's a Chad.
True. Darnell
He's
was
a
talking
little
about a
Chad.
couple episodes ago that bond between, partners that's going to come up a little bit later, and how you got to fully trust the other person, maybe kiss him on the cheek a little bit.
Yeah.
So we see a little bit of that shining through with Hopper and Chad.
Yeah. And the fact that you don't have to necessarily like someone to know that, they still have positive aspects, which I think is another thing that we've kind of lost. I always say that modern day movies are too clean to me. And a lot of that is the environment. But a lot of it too is you always know who to root for. You always know who the good guys are. The bad guys are always like totally bad. There's no like, this guy's a dick, but he still has some positive traits.
Yeah.
Or this person is good, but they're still a dank. And then we have a little bit of a jump scare with this guy who, looks very gangster, comes up, reaches into his jacket. And of course, we're sort of seeing him from her perspective, and she's just been scared by this whole, hey, if you can't get a hold of me.
Yeah.
And then he's like, don't ever wake me up early again. And drops a package on the table, and she says, what's that? And he says, it's just a gift.
Like, why not tell her? Like, there's nothing secretive about it. Why not tell her?
Yeah.
Well, I thought about that, and then I thought, what did he have to do in order to get those tickets for a game the next night? From a guy who is very obviously a scalper.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. He'd been like, they're tickets for someone. They're tickets for a guy at work.
Yeah, that probably would have been fine. Though, I don't know, if somebody told me that, if my husband told me, oh, I just spent, $500 on tickets for some guy at work, I'd be like, why?
Yeah, I'm not condoning lying, but he could have just said the guy owed me a favor if she went to push. You know, it's. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking like a cop because I've had to do that before. Like,
Well, and I'll be
owe me a
perfectly
favor.
honest. I'm just not a very good liar.
Fair enough.
I can stretch the truth until it screams, but like blatant lying literally makes me nauseous. So
Yeah.
I can't. I don't think that way very well. So he goes in. Interestingly, this time there's no headphones in, and he's working on something other than recordings.
But the screen's still the same. It's the same screen as before.
Is it?
Yes, it
Mhm.
is. It is the same
I
screen.
thought that I thought this box here looked smaller.
It's the same
Like,
thing. No.
oh, okay. So maybe he got there a little earlier, and the guy just hasn't like he's getting set up, but he hasn't plugged in yet.
Or he
Yeah.
got there later because he had to meet up with the
True.
ticket guy.
True. But he definitely, yeah, this guy definitely looks like his day is miserable. Everything about that posture, the slouching and the the head on the hands and the oh god, I don't want to be here. So he just no preamble, he just slides it across the table and he says, behind the dugout, tomorrow's game. And this guy immediately knows something is gonna. He's like, nobody comes down here and offers me tickets for no reason. Um,
Think
So
about
he
how
basi-
much. Think about how much better that guy's day is going to be, though, because we know the outcome of that game.
Yeah, right.
He's a huge Dodgers fan, so
That is
like,
his second character trait is he likes the
It's
Dodgers.
the next day.
no, it's games for the next day.
Oh, I
oh,
missed that.
poor guy.
Oh
They
yeah, it
probably
wouldn't make sense
shelled-
for him to go when he's doing the rush job, I guess.
Oh, they
Um,
probably get shelled out then. Poor guy.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that in the next rotation, he already knows the results of the Prince, so he doesn't have to come back and give this guy the tickets again.
Doesn't have to pay for him again.
He doesn't have to pay for them again. So he gets the information he needs without ever giving the guy anything. So he basically says, I need you to get me Prince on this ASAP, and he doesn't say I need him today. He's a little looser about it. He says I just need them ASAP. The guy looks at the tickets and then is like, okay, I'll have them for you this afternoon. And he doesn't need him to look up the number. And then, being the dick that he is, Brett still reaches out and taps the bobblehead as he takes off down the hall. So then we overhear, excuse me, Lieutenant. Nope, can't. I gotta go see the captain. He wants to see me about Brett Hopper. So this is kind of the second half of that conversation we saw him having on the phone before. And he sees the guy again, and this time the guy says, I see you. And then just kind of keeps on getting dragged around. He goes in, he blatantly breaks into Chad's filing cabinet in a way that is probably going to bust the lock and leave marks.
Yes. You cannot break into a lock with a screwdriver and not damage the lock.
No.
Yeah,
No way.
exactly.
That's
But again, he probably figures, well, it'll be fine tomorrow. So he opens it up and discovers that the book that Chad pulled out to mess with him was just full of menus. So he goes busting out. He's, once again, got anger issues. And he says, where is it? And he's like, as if, like, again, this is a new rotation. Chad has no idea what he's after.
Hopper's incredibly mad at Chad for something Chad doesn't remember doing.
Exactly. And in this timeline, Chad didn't do.
Yeah.
And he says, where's what? The murder book. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he accuses him of lying, which is interesting because all he knows is that Chad was messing with him and that he pretended to have it. He has no reason at this point to think that he does have it, except that he's kind of got his brain. He does this a lot. He gets his brain fixated on an idea, and when that idea doesn't pan out, he can't change tactics. Not to tie the show up, but like this is what happens with the hourglass. He's convinced that the hourglass is going to be the answer to everything, And when that doesn't work, he goes ballistic and he hucks it at a car. And he does the same thing here. He's convinced that the murder book is going to answer all his questions, and when it doesn't, he goes ballistic.
Well, he doesn't even get it.
Huh?
He doesn't even have the book.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't pan out the way he thought. The book isn't where he
Yeah.
thought it was going to be. And he says, "I need the files. Where did you put it?" And then he mentions, like, it's not in your office. And Chad's like, "You went through my office? Like, there are really important files. I could have you arrested for that." And he says, "I'm not leaving without it." And so Chad starts to manhandle him out, and he pulls a gun.
Yep.
Because again, he does not react well when he thinks he's got, a 100% thing that doesn't then pan out. And some guy's walking through the door, sees
Before we go any further,
Yes.
chat, just for your benefit, how do you think pulling a gun on another cop and threatening to shoot him in a police station is going to go over?
Oh, it's incredibly stupid.
Another cop's going to pull his gun and shoot you. Maybe.
I mean, it's incredibly dumb. Except that no one in this particular department seems to carry guns. Like, Chad doesn't have one on. The guy who says gun doesn't appear to have one. So apparently IA only wears guns when they're actually going out somewhere.
It's a TV thing. Because NCIS does it too. They don't ever have their guns till they're leaving the office, which is weird.
Well, I was going to ask about that because, I mean, I know that officers that are in uniform carry them because it's a pain in the butt to, like, don't you have to do paperwork every single time you take them off or something? Or
If you pull it out, generally it's you have to do a use of force report. But no, like every officer, detective, everybody from the sheriff on down, when the second you walk out of your door in the morning, you have a gun on you.
Okay.
And you don't take it off till you get home.
I worked mainly with, I worked with some law enforcement, but I mostly worked in corrections.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, corrections, there's only guns in one location.
Right.
And you did not carry a gun unless you were doing a transport, and then you had to check them out and check them back in again. But the other thing is that he and Chad are the only ones in that office when he pulls the gun. So it's not like he pulls the gun in a room full of people.
However, literally 2 seconds later.
Yeah, I can't tell if that guy's an officer or if he's like a secretary. Because he does not respond like an officer. He basically just starts screaming hysterically.
I think it was
Gun.
I think it was so quick we skipped over it, but a random person looks into the office, sees Hopper threatening Chad with a gun, and shouts "gun" and runs away.
Right, I can't tell if that's actually an officer or if it's like some civilian.
I would think their IA department is pretty huge, and I would assume he's another IA guy. But you're right. Like in most shows about cops, like that, this happens. A cop pulls a gun out in a police station. They yell "gun" and everyone dives down. Or like they pull their gun and the first guy, the criminal or whoever, says drop your weapons. The cop's like, okay, no problem. No cop will ever put their gun down.
Except this happened earlier when Eddie pulled a gun. Mm-hmm. And he says, you need to put your weapon down. And he says, I can't do that. So that does suggest that is not common practice with this police force.
It's not across the board in America. Like cops, you never put your gun only goes down when you die.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is that is what makes me think that guy might not have been a police officer.
Maybe.
Maybe. Because we've already seen that there's a no, we don't put our guns down.
Yeah.
Even if there's a hostage. A civilian, on the other hand, would just be like, I'm out of here.
Hell with this, I quit.
Funny thing from a mental health perspective, if that is a secretary or something like that, out of everyone that is involved in this situation, he will be the one most likely to get PTSD.
Yep.
Because it is civilians that are not in combat that feel helpless and don't feel like they can do anything that are more likely to get PTSD than people who actually have guns.
Yeah. So
There's your useless fact for the day.
this screenshot right here, it drove me nuts. Every time he raises the gun, you hear the hammer cock back. Every single time. That's a Glock. That has no hammer. It's internal.
Hammer.
There's no external
Really?
hammer in this gun. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have mine in my gun case from when I was a cop. I would show it, but it's on YouTube, so it probably
Yeah, it would get upset.
yeah,
I'm
like
telling you that editing's bad.
take this as the gun. Forget this part. This is the teal part of the gun. This is how it looks. The back.
Oh,
there's no
that wasn't
hammer.
that wasn't my question. I'm familiar with the gun. I just my hearing is atrocious, and I just did not hear the hammer.
Gotcha. Every time he raises it up, the hammer goes off. Every time.
Huh.
Drove me nuts.
I mean, we could just assume that Brett's actually just making that sound with his mouth.
I always think that too.
Yeah, no, I couldn't hear it.
It's like the lightsaber thing, like you just can't help yourself but go zoom.
When you pick up like a bat or something, you have to do it, yeah.
Or a really good stick.
Yep. But real quick, one useless bit of information. Every time I had to pull my gun out, I did the hammer noise in my head.
There you go. See,
TV
they're just putting it on television because you expect
it would
it.
happen in my head.
They know
Because
it would be
of
happening
TV.
they know it would be happening in your head, so therefore it's a snowball effect. They do it on television, so you do it in your head, and then they do it on television because they know you're expecting it in your head. So yeah, they apparently call all the officers home to deal with the problem in house. And this guy is with them, and as they're going through, he takes off on a different route than everyone else. Yeah. Is there any bad blood between the two of them? Well, I mean, besides the fact that he's banging Chad's wife.
Ex-wife.
Yeah, and Andrea's like ex-wife. like she immediately is trying to defend, there shouldn't be any bad blood. They're divorced. It's fine. So we meet Lieutenant Romero from SWAT, who says, he understands there's this whole Garza business, and his whole idea is that nobody goes in until he gets tired of talking, and he doesn't stop talking until his jaw falls off.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like police. This guy right here, he says, that's my jaw falls off. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, I wondered about that too, and then I have more medical stuff than... So doctors never say, like, yeah, you have cancer, you're gonna die, you're screwed. Like, there's this whole lead-in. Well, you have cancer, here are some treatment options. Well, the treatment options aren't working, but, we can extend your life. Well, that's not going to work anymore, so we can at least make you comfortable. Like, they ease people into, the truth of a situation. And so, I don't know, I looked at it from that perspective, and I was like, they're not going to walk up to his partner, who they need cooperation from, and be like, yep, we're going to shoot.
True. Fair enough.
And she says, like, something's not right. Like, he's stubborn. I don't envy Chad because he's that stubborn. But this whole thing is weird. Like, this isn't his behavior. Which is a little strange because we've already discussed the fact that he's got anger issues, and he's apparently known for having some anger issues. So I suppose anger issues versus pulling a gun on a cop in a police station. Those are very different things, but still. So he tells her to stay close. I want you in the command post. They look over a map. He says, I got shooters here, here, and here. And the SWAT guy says, yeah, we're going to swap those out for my guys. Nothing personal, but, your guys are a little too close to the situation. I don't want anybody getting... Which is interesting, because you'd think people close to the situation that know Hopper would be less likely to shoot him.
Well, that's what he means. Like, they'd be more likely to let him escape or start to feel for him, so they might muddy up the whole situation.
No, he says, I don't want anyone getting trigger happy.
Oh, okay. But yeah, what I just said is what you would generally do if you have the manpower to do it.
Right.
Because they're close to it.
It absolutely makes sense to have impartial people doing that. Um,
Well, he could have said that easily because of when he asked did they have bad blood, and the guy said what he said, and knowing the guy's IA, that the uniform guys may be trigger happy to get rid of IA because they're afraid they're gonna get investigated.
hmm.
I guess no, I know that side, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah. The other thing I thought was interesting, though, is that once again, you'd think he would want to make nice with the people whose help he needs, and it would make a lot more sense to tell the captain, like, oh, I don't want to put your guys through potentially having to shoot their coworker, as opposed to, I don't trust your officers.
Yeah.
So he says, 99 out of 100 times, people just want to talk, and she says, what about that one person? And he kind of avoids the question. Which was what led to my whole idea about trying to make it sound no, this is gonna be fine, honest, it'll go great. Yeah, going all cowboy on us. She's glaring. He has the posture here. I thought was weird. It's an interesting shot. But it's been very easy. They've been very expressive actors so far. It's very easy to tell what they're thinking, what they're feeling. This shot, though, I don't know, almost like he's in shock, maybe?
He's thinking.
He's brooding.
Yeah, I mean, he is brooding, but it's still...
I
That
mean,
pose.
I assume that he's realizing that he just pulled a gun on Chad, and he's like, "Oh fuck! This is crazy even for me." And he's trying to go where do I go from here?
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I meant by in shock. He's kind of doing the oh shit.
I mean, I've been in that. That's kind of like a resting pose. You and just because this tires you out all day long. So if you're in a situation, this is normal to have your hand kind of supporting you, and it looked to me like he was thinking, trying to put things try to get it one step ahead of SWAT, or one step ahead of Chad. That's how I took that scene.
I found it interesting that that it's the first time I can't tell for certain what he's thinking, though. Because again, they've been so good about the expressions, I have to assume it's on purpose. Because it's not like he wants to be terribly expressive to where Chad can see him either.
Yeah.
So Chad wants him to answer the phone. The phone's ringing. He's not answering it. He looks pretty pissed here. And they start talking about the normal procedure. Get demands, kill the air conditioning. And as he's going through it, he's getting more agitated, and then he finally just grabs the phone. And he's like, what? And he's like, here are my demands. I want my sister and her kids and Rita Sheldon here so I can see that they're safe, and then I'll give up. Probably the weirdest set of demands that SWAT guy has ever heard.
Yeah.
Not I want safe passage, not anything. Original Hamster says he's thinking of pancakes.
Who wouldn't be in this situation?
So he starts out talking to the captain. The captain hands him off, basically does introductions, hands him off to the SWAT guy. And he says, is everyone okay? He says, Chad's ego is bruised. And he's honest with him. He says, look, I know you're wanted for the Garza murder, so we know how this has to end, but, what else do you want? Hamiana says, should have ordered a large pizza, too, just to fuck with him.
Naked pictures of B. Arthur.
Yeah.
Football helmet filled with cottage cheese.
So he says, "I got 10 SWAT guys,
Big
40
bucket of
cops.
mayonnaise.
You know, let me know that I can send the meat wagon home." And he's like, "All right, send it home." And he gives him the whole like, and I do have to say, I would be so irritated if I was in this situation and I got this patronizing thing about, there are lots of people out here who love you and are worried about you and want you to be safe.
Yeah. I would hang up the phone. Click. Bye.
And well, it's pretty much what he does. He's like, "Whatever, man, just get to it." And he looks kind of anguished here. Like he goes back, like he's got the whole little furrow in the top of his head, and
Well, he's been shot, bit, and all kinds of things. He's healing up, trying to heal up.
and he says like he just wants them. And then he said, "Do you want anything else?" And he's like, "No." And then he goes into like, this is the guy thing. Like, I'm stressed and depressed, so it's gonna come out as anger.
Yeah.
So then we go to the shot of these two, and they say, "We found his gun in his closet." And this is the scene I was talking about earlier. I said I don't remember when it happens, but the Hispanic guy at some point suddenly has this, well, wait a minute, like, why would he be like, why would a police he says, "Imagine for a minute you're a cop." And Skinner's like, "Okay, it'll be a
I'll
stretch, but I'll
try."
try."
Yeah.
And he says, "Imagine you've just killed Garza." And Skinner grins and he's like, "I think I can do that." So apparently Skinner knows Garza, even if Brett doesn't. I don't remember his name. I'm just going to keep calling him Skinner. And he says, like, "Why would you hide the gun in your closet and then walk in and take a police officer hostage in a police station?"
Mm-hmm.
And Skinner says, "Well, because people are stupid." And he's like, then he goes on to say that, Brett knew that the manhunt wasn't gonna take place until later that afternoon. And he says, "So wait a minute, you're telling me that he's smart enough to figure that out, but dumb enough to do the rest of this? Like, that doesn't make any sense." Yeah, word wouldn't go wide. And he says, like, this just doesn't make any sense. And Skinner says, "So who'd he take hostage?" And he's like, anyway, he's like, "Some guy in IA." And he's like, "Man, my day just keeps getting better."
Christmas came early.
Yeah, Christmas
Yep.
came early. I do think he knows Chad, because the interactions they've had before have been also kind of hostile. So Chad says, "You're wasting your time." And then he gets up and he's kind of working his hands around and he says, "Get down and sit in the chair." And he's like, "At least put the cuffs in front. Like, this is getting, I'm losing circulation." And he's basically, he doesn't let up at all. He's like,
Which
"Sit
is a
down."
common complaint by people who are handcuffed. Just to get their hands in front so they can do something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I wondered about that. So I imagine I would find being cuffed incredibly difficult because I have a shoulder that likes to dislocate on a regular
It's
basis.
even with normal shoulders, it's uncomfortable for people.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Is
It's not
like,
it's not made to be comfortable.
well,
Yeah.
but I wonder if like over time, does it? It seems like it must get to the point where it could get real rough. Because they're
Yeah.
they're not intended to be on for hours while you're being held hostage, I
Yeah.
assume. And
Yeah, I don't know if y'all could see. Sorry, real quick. They're not made to be comfortable. They're very
yeah.
defined edges. They're made to be uncomfortable.
Well, I wasn't thinking those so much as the fact that depending, I mean, it seems like you'd have to kind of roll your. I've never been handcuffed. It seems like you'd have to roll your shoulders back.
Nope.
No.
Essentially, put your hands behind your back and close them like you're praying. Then your hands face each other when you're cuffed.
Yeah. See, I have attempted to do yoga. I can't do that without my shoulder dislocating. So. So he said, oh, you want some murder book? Like, what's up with, including Rita and your sister in this? And he says, that's between me and you. And Chad continues to say, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Chad says, like, the way we work is like I sign off on stuff and I don't remember half the, I just sign it. I don't really pay attention. And let's see. Oh yeah, so then we see the placement of the camera happening. The interesting thing is that Brett was looking at this earlier. I wonder if he just assumed that would be a good spot, or if he just happened to be looking at the map.
It could be bad editing too.
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot to look at in that room,
Yeah.
so.
That would be a good spot though to put a camera.
And he says, do you think they're going to barge in here and save you? And he says, do I need to gag you? And Chad says, you don't deserve her, you never did. And he says that ship sailed a long time ago, let it go. And then we go back to these guys, and she says, if he pulled a gun on Chad, there's a logical reason for it. Or no, they start out by saying it must be hard to see your friend doing something so irrational. And she says, no, if he pulled a gun on Chad Sheldon, he did it for a rational reason. And he comes in with the information that the gun in Hopper's closet is the one that killed Garza. But they can't get fingerprints because Ranowski has some rush job. So even once Hopper is like, being wanted for murder and holding some guy hostage, the guy's still following through on his end of the deal.
Go blue.
So they got sound, they got camera. The sister and her kids are en route. And he says, why are you bringing them into this? And he says, I'm trying to protect her, but you're bringing her into a situation with a lot of, people on edge with guns. And he gets really angry and he starts to get up, like, you're trying to put her in danger. You want her hurt. And he says, get your ass back in the chair. And he does it, but this time it's a lot more reluctantly. Like, he's pretty angry. And then Brett says, if I get caught, she gets killed. And he assumes that, like, this is a threat. And he says, by who? I don't know. And he says, well, that's because you're a liar. And then he says, I've seen Rita die. I've seen Rita die 3 times. If I get caught, she gets killed. And she's going, okay, now I feel really stupid for that whole, like, rational reason. Though, if you think about it, if someone is in this situation and really believes that if they get caught, someone they love is going to get killed, from their perspective, it is rational.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things about dealing with people that had...
Skinner's like, oh, this is going to end well.
Yeah, he says this is going to end really well. And he's like grinning about it. He's just like, oh. But yeah, when you're dealing with people with delusions, it's sort of like a fantasy world. Like, the rules are consistent in their head. It's just a matter of figuring out what the rules are. And from their perspective, often what they're doing is very rational. And Chad's reaction to this. Oh, we missed one thing I meant to mention. When Brett first pulls the gun on him and it first becomes a hostage situation, despite the fact that he is at gunpoint, Chad's first reaction is like, way to go, genius. Like, in all of this, I don't know if he's just that sure that Brett won't kill him, or if he's just that arrogant.
I think it's that he's that arrogant.
Or that's how he deals with fear, too. Like, Brett deals with it by getting angry. Chad seems to have kind of that intellectual perspective where he kind of hides behind,
Humor.
his mouth and his brain. Skinner just wants somebody to get clapped for no reason. Skinner is a dick. Yeah, that's pretty much a yeah. We keep harping on like the fact that Chad is a Chad, but Skinner gets less screen time. But yeah, he is he is really the much bigger dick. So he says, "This is so you like the very concept of time revolves around you because you're so special."
And then he says, but people say I have the ego.
Yeah, people say I have an ego. Um, it's just that you're more obvious about it, Chad. And he says, "I know how it sounds, but like this is what happens." And he says, "So everyone who dies the previous day, they come back." Um, and he says, like, why are you wasting time with civility? Why not just come with a machine gun and mow us all down?" And I hadn't considered this, but Brett says because it's wrong. Like even if he knows that people aren't like going to get hurt in the long run, he can't do it because it's the wrong thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is what makes him a protagonist, even though he's a dick sometimes. So he says, "Why don't you give up now?" And he says, because Rita's going to die. And then he says, he gets really intense about it. He says, "I've seen her die 3 times. Imagine what that's like. Like, imagine hearing her scream. Imagine hearing the gunshot that takes her life." And
And you see Chad take that incredibly seriously. Like
yeah,
he stops, he thinks about it for a second, and you see his face change. It's
yep,
like the facial acting in this episode is incredibly well done, and it's
Mm-hmm.
I think this was the first time in a not that the show hasn't done it, but I felt that the dialogue between characters felt just incredibly organic and
Yes.
natural here because Chad very much does not like Brett, but you still see that even when he's talking shit and he's kind of joking at him and poking at him, he's still being a detective. He's still looking at Brett like
He's
he's
doing it
trying
to
to
find answers.
figure
Yeah.
exactly. He's trying
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's I'm trying to figure out what he's going through to see if there's any possibility he could be right, or if it's I'm a hostage and I need to find a way out of here. Like he's this entire time he's constantly thinking, and you see it on his face. And it it seems like if Brett did half of that thinking, things would be very different.
well, and I mean, there's a comment where he makes later, like, "Oh, you have to show off that education," and he's like, "Well, it's irresponsible for you not to be thinking about
Yeah,
this kind of stuff."
I actually really like
Um,
that bit later.
I bet they made great partners because Brett was the brawn and Chad was the brain, and I bet they worked really well together, whether they liked each other or not. I mean, they obviously. I don't know that Brett respects Chad, but Chad obviously respects him, at least for the things he's good at.
To an extent, yeah.
Um, and you're right. I think throughout this entire show, the relationship between Chad and Brett I find so much more fascinating than the relationship between him and Rita. Though Rita is what, you know, has the monkey wrench in their relationship. Um, but
But at the same time, it's also like through her that they're being brought together. Like he trusts Chad to keep Rita safe because as much as Chad is a dickhead, he knows that to a degree Chad still loves Rita and would protect her. So, it's the thing that they're clashing over, but it's also the thing that they need. Like it's the thing that needs to bring them together here and, potentially keep Rita safe.
well, that's why I said even in the beginning when he absolutely loathes Chad and vice versa. At no point does he not immediately say, "If I can't keep you safe, go to Chad."
Yeah.
Um, and even when he knows Chad is at the house, he says it's okay. Like, I'm glad he's there keeping you safe. Now I need you to put him on the phone. um, and but the rapidness with which he goes from kind of smirky to, and it's not like it's almost like he nods reluctantly. It's this little tiny like, yeah, I wouldn't do that either. And then he says I don't know when tomorrow's gonna come, what happens if she dies and then tomorrow comes and she's gone forever? Could you ever take that chance? See if I can. Yeah, and everyone who's listening, like, is obviously like paying attention to the kind of emotion that's in his voice. And I can't get the shot, unfortunately, but the look on Chad's face when he thinks about
Yeah.
that, that's the first time I really felt terrible for him about the fact that he and Rita didn't work. Because like he looks in pain even just thinking about it. I mean, Brett's seen it. And Chad even just thinking about it, like, looks like he's hurting so bad. So then we cut to a scene with Jennifer, and we get this whole, I knew your dad. He was a great cop. It was a shock what happened. And she says, yeah, we were kind of all surprised. Any theories?
No, she's exactly like what he's doing is right. He's making her feel comfortable, and then he's gonna slap on the comment he makes at the end, and she's like, "I'm not. I know what you're doing." He's trying to bait her into saying something.
Well, we
Assuming the monologue from Mike earlier was in fact about Brett's dad, corruption with that same group of people is what sank his dad, probably.
And it probably wasn't suicide,
Yeah.
or he did it because it was like the last option to keep Hopper alive
Mhm.
when he was a kid.
I actually don't remember what happened to the dad, but I would assume when she says, it's like he's like with dad, it seems like everything's fine, and then just one day it's not. So if nothing else, I think the assumption is he committed suicide, even if it,
Yeah.
even if it turns out somebody faked a suicide. So he says, if are you and Brett close? If he were having a hard time, would he confide in you? She's like, well, stoic cops. And so then he gets into the whole, has he ever expressed any ideas about, that seem like conspiratorial, paranoid? And she says, you're saying he's doing this because there's mental illness in our family. Like, I want to go see my brother now.
Yeah. He's like, he's crazy, right? So we can shoot him, right?
Yeah. So phone rings. They give it to Jennifer. She says, yes, I'm here. The kids are here. Everybody's safe. Like, we want you and Chad to get out okay. And then she hands the phone back. He says, what about Rita? They say, well, we haven't found her yet. But you promised that if we brought her. And he said, no. Like, I told you that when you found everybody.
And the acting here is really, really great, because when Jennifer first gets on the phone and she's talking to Brett, she says, we're all here, we're safe, we want to see you, we want to make sure that you, and she takes a bit of a pause, and then she says, and Chad are safe.
Yeah, she's obviously reciting.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that it seems like Brett actually kind of believes, like, oh, okay, she's speaking to me genuinely. But after that pause, and when she mentions Chad, he kind of snaps back and realizes this is what they told her to say. This is,
Yeah.
this is standard, procedure, and it angers him. But it's so well acted. I don't know the name of the actress playing Jennifer, but she has been killing it this entire show.
The blonde?
No, his sister.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Phenomenal, dude.
Andrea's the blonde. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, so then he kind of hollers at the camera. I'm not going anywhere until you bring me Rita Sheldon.
And then rips the camera out.
Yep. The interesting thing is that he's later told they've got ears on you, and yet he yells at the camera as if, I don't know, maybe the camera had a second mic, or he assumed that the camera and the mic were the one thing.
I find it interesting here that earlier this SWAT guy is saying, or not SWAT, but like hostage situation dude.
Yeah, that's SWAT team.
Oh, okay, cool. So he's talking about how, like, listen, I'm only here to talk. That's what most people ever want to do. But then it seems here like he's very clearly escalating the situation. Like, he's the first person to like out loud imply, like, hey, I think Brett's trying to say goodbye and off himself here. And I feel like I feel like the other cops might not have felt that unless he put it out there and then they were like, oh shit, he's in charge, this might be the case. But it seems like he's escalating the situation. Brett's not doing himself any favors.
Yeah.
But we learn later that this guy knows a bit about something. But I do like the small details there.
And the negotiator never ever gets emotional. You get emotional, you're pulled, and put someone else in your place. It never happens in real life.
Interesting.
Does he seem emotional, or does he just say, "I'm beginning to think he's that one out of 10"?
Well,
The aggressiveness.
it seems like he puts it out there. Andrea kind of counteracts that by saying, like, I know him. I don't think that's the case at all. He wants to make sure his sister's safe, and he gets a little angry at the fact that she's even, like, offering an alternative here. He went from, like, hey, first we need to do is talk, to getting angry at anyone offering a different opinion. He is getting a bit emotional here.
Well, I mean, Andrea has already proven to them that she's biased, because she said, oh, like, he has to have a rational reason, and then he immediately made comments about, like, I'm reliving days over and over again. So probably they're not taking Andrea's advice on this whole thing too seriously. And she says, maybe he's worried about his girlfriend because, like, we can't find her. And he says, if we bring her in, then what? And then he says, thank you, detective. And then he pulls the air conditioning. So these two are continuing to have a chat, and he's showed Chad the fact that he gets shot, and he says, when was this? Today. Well, how many todays ago? And he's like, I don't even remember anymore. So, oh yeah, I can't stop on this one, but we talked earlier about whether or not he could be killed. And Chad says, so if your injuries stay the next day, then that means if you're shot, you could be killed. And he says, I'm guessing, yeah. And then Chad says, good to know. And he says, why you're cracking yourself up over there? You realize they still haven't found Rita. And Chad once again tries to get up. And then there's a change in the... I assume there's a change in the sound here, because they say, you hear that?
Yes.
But again, I have terrible hearing. And
There's a really loud Foley.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anything, so... but he says, yeah, they killed the air. I hate this part. Which is really interesting, because I was like, how many times has Chad been taken hostage?
Well, considering his attitude, he probably has been taken hostage quite a few times.
Because I don't imagine they turned the air conditioner off in the entire building.
Again, training for stuff like this, you'll generally have the hostages or the bad guys as other cops, like when you're training. So like he could have easily been in a lot of trainings, and they just took the air conditioner off. I hate this part.
Yeah.
It's like I've done trainings where I've had to be a hostage, I had to be a bad guy, and you knew you were getting shot. Even though it was simulation rounds, like paint rounds, it still sucked, and you knew it was coming.
Yeah. And he's wearing a suit, and his hands are handcuffed, so he can't even take his jacket off.
Yeah.
He says, even though you're riding the short bus, I got to admire your attention to detail. So apparently they've been talking for some time, because he knows about the battery, he knows about the girl at the pool, and then he says, like, what happens then? And he says, I go to get the package, and he says, well, what's in the package? And then he remembers, like, oh, it's still in the evidence room. So apparently some time has passed, because at this point it's got to be afternoon, because the guy said, I'll have it for you this afternoon. So he gets on his phone, he messages Andrea and says, "Can you talk?" She kind of gets away from him, calls him. Oh yeah, and we see this guy, the guy who left the rest of the group, and he's watching Jennifer and the kids as he walks by. So they can hear her calling Brett, and they're like, "Who's doing that? Like, what the heck?" It does seem a little weird. They wouldn't be able to figure that out in their own police station, but
Or to be able to block the cell signal so he won't be able to make any calls.
Well, I think that they have the sound on in the office, so they're able to hear his side of the conversation, and they don't know who he's talking to. Just that he's talking to somebody.
Yep.
right. But we're talking about like, why can't they block other people calling that? I mean, you'd think other people would call IA throughout the day, and so that therefore they'd have that line shut down, so the phone wasn't ringing with
That's true,
strange
yeah.
people all the time. Or maybe they've got it. Well, I don't know. That it seemed odd. So she says, before you say one word, they still have, ears on you, and you sound like a whack job. Darnell Hanayama says, in this scene that was God knows how long,
Yeah.
in the meantime, he's only talked to Chad and done nothing else.
Yeah, he
Not
he
something
said,
an insane person does.
he said the SWAT guy has no reason to doubt his words because he hasn't done anything crazy. I responded that he heard Brett say he's living the same day over and over again, and in that response, but to be fair, if he's leading up the SWAT team and negotiating, he would remember that conversation because if you remember, it cut to her, and they were all like she was like looking at them like they all heard this insane shit coming out of his mouth.
The other thing is that if he was not living the same day over and over again, he would be suffering from delusions, which is kind of a not commonly covered mental health thing. In most movies and TV and stuff cover things like schizophrenia, where people are hallucinating and hearing voices. Delusions, people act absolutely rational except for one very specific aspect of their life.
And they fixate on it.
Right. I had a professor who once talked about a friend of theirs, or somebody they knew anyway. And the guy was an extremely successful, like, surgeon, I think. And he went to work every day and he did surgery and he was totally fine in every other aspect of his life. But he firmly believed that the mafia was watching him and communicating by the color of cars that went by his house. He wasn't a danger to anyone. He didn't, have any harmful thoughts or anything like that. He just, that one area of his life, he had this weird thought.
It's almost like how autism, how some people, because autism gets you to hyper fixate on that one thing,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
except it just happens to be one thing that's
Right.
so crazy.
Yeah.
Any people in chat who happen to be autistic, let us know. Has the mafia ever communicated with you via car colors? Inquiring minds would like to know.
Right.
But yeah, people who have delusions very frequently don't act like you would expect insane people to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you or do you not have a microphone in your tooth?
Yes.
But on the other hand, this is television, so who knows how they... I mean, I literally don't think diagnosis was... or delusions were even a diagnosis when this television show came out, so...
Yeah, I think so.
Hamayana says it's the Chinese mafia. So he finds the mic, smashes the window.
This weirded me out. You just gave them open air to the office. Now they can hear everything. This made no sense.
I assume they're not set up in the hallway outside the room.
But they would have somebody in that hallway, and he could relay all the information.
They show people in that hallway later.
Yeah.
Because what is right next to that? The really big window. Is that a door or is that?
That looks like a door.
This would be the IA division. So there's there's like other offices in here and and other stuff, but yeah, there would be somebody who would be able to hear through that hole in the window, the broken window now.
I mean, I guess the only thing I could say is that at least they're not recording him talking to her.
Yeah.
So it gives her some protection, if nothing else. But it convinces this guy that he's losing it. And this is when he moves guys into the hallway.
Which is weird because he would have had people in the hallway before.
Well, he said that he had them in the halls, but they appeared to be at choke points, not directly.
I know. I'm just thinking like in real life, like real life police procedure. Someone would have been in that hallway at every entrance and exit to the room. It had people waiting, like trained on the door in case he came out the door. They'd have had people on him.
Well, they certainly do later.
Yep.
So he says, like, let's say you're not crazy. Like, why is this happening? Like, do you think you're chosen? And he says,
like,
my
no,
thoughts.
It feels like it's being punished.
He says, my thoughts have alternated between, like, why this would happen and the most painful way I can kill you when I get my hands free. Like, the balls.
He's so good.
Yeah, the balls on this guy, even when he's handcuffed and at gunpoint, is great. So he says, like, do you think that you're being chosen? And when Brett says no, I feel like I'm being punished, his face changes again. Like, he stops with the kind of smirking. And that's the moment where he almost seems to start taking him seriously. And so I love the fact that he said, I'm thinking about this theory I read in an actual book. I don't know if he's trying to imply that Hopper just never reads books or if it's like, no, it was an actual book. Not,
What I took out of that was a lot of times a hostage, if you have a cop or whatever, hostage, they will try and connect with the person. And by saying like, oh, I heard this, but by saying he read an actual book, he's not. It's a way of him to relay to Hopper that he's not just trying to connect with him, that he actually saw this. And Hopper, being his partner, would know he's into this stuff.
Though he does say, I thought you were going to blame it on the tree huggers like you do everything else. So he says, like, sometimes time can be sticky. And I assume, too, that he's trying to relay to him that, like, oh, I'm taking you seriously, I'm listening to you. Interesting from a guy who's done nothing but make fun of him ever since he got taken hostage. And we see the bald guy before, apparently climbing up on top of the roof, and taking aim.
Is he in the ventilation here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was my impression. It's whenever I see that in TV and movies now, I can't help but think of that one MythBusters episode where they tried moving around in the vent. It was the loudest thing imaginable.
Yeah, what's wrong about this scene is when they show him in the ceiling space, the grating goes to nothing. There should be a duct to the grating, like the thing in the ceiling. It would be connected to a duct, not just up into a ceiling space.
Yeah.
I once again blamed that on 2000s television because that was everything. I mean, I think it started with Alien, like people just crawling around through air ducts all the time.
Yep.
So then he kind of rattles off a couple of theories, and Brett basically says, oh, you're just showing off that education again, all these plaques you got in your office, and I think he kind of hurts. I think he kind of hurts Chad's feelings here because Chad, like, once again takes cover behind, like, maybe your mom just dropped you on your head. And he says, at least I put some thought into it. It's, basically, I can't believe you haven't not what does he say? Not the physical why, but the metaphysical, or not the physical how, but the metaphysical why.
Yeah.
And he says you got to have some theories. He, in the meantime, has seen the guy, and he knows that Brett hasn't. And when he first sees him, he smiles. And then I think this is where he makes the comment about, I feel like I'm being punished. And that's when he stops smiling and gets up and starts to kind of move towards him. Though I can't tell if he stops smiling here because he's realized that the guy has the wrong gun.
I assumed it was that, based on what we hear later.
Or if it's because this happens right after Brett says, I feel like I'm being punished. So I don't know. Maybe it's both.
I don't think there's anything Brett could say here that would win Chad over. I think it's a reaction to the gun.
Well,
Yeah.
It is weird it is weird to hear somebody that you have always thought of as being, cocksure and arrogant to say they feel like they're being punished for what's going on.
Yeah. I think that the look on his face was one, he saw the gun, and two, there's been no other efforts to get into the room, and there's like, wait a minute, he says he feels he's being punished, and there's someone up there that's not normal police procedure.
Yeah. So he gets up and he starts talking about, they've been doing experiments, maybe you're being experimented on. And Brett, once again waves the gun at him and tells him to sit down. And instead of sitting down, he knocks him out of the way. They hear a gunshot in the command office. They send the team in with flashbangs and everything else. And he hauls him into kind of a back room. And then threatens him. He's like, I should blow your head off. He says, what the hell was that? Is everyone okay? And he's pissed off. He's like, what the hell was that? And he puts a gun to Chad's head and starts yelling, stop lying. And Chad says, that guy didn't come in right. He had the wrong gun. He had live ammunition. It was against procedure. Basically saying, like, I believe you that something is up.
Yeah.
And he says, they should have come in flashbangs and bag rounds. And he says, yeah, that's what the second team did. So, like, there's obviously an outlier here.
Plus, it does start to show that, as much of an asshole as Chad is, like, and as much as he hates Brett, he wants him, if he wants him brought to justice if he's a dirty cop, but he doesn't want him dead. Like, he wants to be the guy that's like, haha, I'm the internal affairs guy that was able to bring you down. And it once again, like, he's such an asshole, but like this episode really does make you start, he's an asshole, but you respect him at the very least.
Well,
he has his own code,
This is one of the other things that I found really interesting about Chad that I kind of wanted to ask you guys about. He says, why did you save me? And he says, well, you may be psycho, but we were friends once. I didn't want to see you go out like that. And Brett says, we were partners, but we were never friends.
And Chad seems like actually hurts by that.
Yes, he looks hurt and he looks shocked. He's like, but we rode together every day for 2 years. And then he basically says, like, fine. Like, this appears to be the first time that he has ever thought about the fact that he thought of Brett as a friend and Brett never thought of him as one.
Yeah. That's why he's such a dick to him. He's like, my friend stepped on my back, and now he's realizing we were never friends.
Well,
in
Brett
in Brett's eyes, yeah.
It's also, I think, it's the fact that, they were partners for 2 years, and I think, Chad still has that mentality of, even if I don't like you, you're still my partner. I'm going to defend you and protect you. If we're riding in the same car together. Now it's different. They're in different sections. But even if I don't like you, like, we're cops, I have to protect you. and he seems like baffled that Brett doesn't have the same mentality.
And he seems really hurt. And it also makes things make a little more sense too. It's bad enough to think, because again, we're in a different rotation. He still thinks that Brett and Rita were messing around on him behind his back.
Yeah.
So not only did he think his partner had stolen his wife, he thought his friend stole his wife. And considering this is Chad, and considering how other people feel about Chad, he may have thought his only friend stole his wife.
Yeah.
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 This scene made me think. I remember thinking, knowing all that Chad realized maybe he didn't steal my wife. Like when he saw that what Brett's saying, like, holy shit, you think you're being punished? This is not normal, and maybe there's other things that happened differently the way I saw it.
Or maybe he thinks that Brett believes he's being punished for stealing his wife.
That's an interesting interpretation.
Like, oh, he's gone crazy because he feels guilty about what he did to me. Because Chad also has an ego, and Chad also believes that things revolve around him.
Yes.
So again, his way of dealing with his feelings being hurt is to, like, go behind this intellect thing, and he says, "You owe me $171.53. He's like, "For what?" And he said, "Because I bought coffee twice as often as you did."
Kept a tab?
Well, it's not only that he kept a tab, he knew to the penny without ever looking. It's not like he wrote it down.
It makes you think, like, if, how different things would be if it was Chad that was stuck in a time loop.
Just buying coffee every single loop and keeping a running tally.
I mean, that's not what I meant, but, sure.
Well, we talk a lot about Brett's memory, but it's made very apparent in the course of this that Chad's intellect is pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "You kept a tab," and he says, "I'm thorough. It's what makes me good at what I do."
Yeah.
Which is probably true, honestly.
Yeah.
So Andrea goes to pick up the file, and of course, at this point, word has spread, and he's like, "Wait, isn't that the?" And she just snags it, and she's like, "Thank you." And he's refusing to talk to anyone except her since the gunshot, so they come to get her. She gets on the phone with him, and... Oh, sorry, I forgot about this part. Chad encourages him to kill himself.
Yep.
And he says, "Well, I can't take that chance until I know that Rita's safe, and I know that, I make sure that this is going to work." And he says, I need to see if I could change the day. And he says, "What do they want from you?" And he says, "They want me to confess to the Garza murder. I did that, but they said I didn't take them seriously." And Chad's like, "You took a cop hostage in a police station to save the woman you love. Like, how much more serious can you get?"
Yeah.
And again, it is so obvious that Brett has never even considered this. And he says, "What kind of cop are you? Like, you must know how to get a hold of them." So he remembers that he's got Damien's number, and he knows that Damien has Baxter in the backseat of his car, and he knows that Baxter has connections to the two mob guys.
Bad guys.
Well, mob guys isn't right. The two
The bad guys.
the bad guy muscle. So yeah, he's like, "Been looking for you, man." He says, "I need to speak to Baxter," and he's like, "Well, I'll let you know if I see him. It should be easy. I know he's in the back of your truck." And that makes Damien curious enough that they let him take the call. And I love the fact that he calls him Hop. I don't know why, but that just entertains me. So he says, "I need you to contact those guys that are squeezing you and tell them, I'll give them what they want, and I do understand how serious this is." I'll confess, but only if they let Rita go. So he says, if you mess up on this, like, Damien's going to kill you. And of course, there's no reason for Damien not to kill him anyway.
Yep.
Mhm.
The two things are, as far as he knows, entirely unrelated.
Damien's probably going to, yes.
So he's like, I need to make a call. Why Damien lets him make the call, I have no idea, other than the fact that this is just weird and it might be interesting to see where it goes.
It's possible Damien was close enough to that conversation to hear what they were saying over the phone.
That or the fact that Damien is Hop's CI and he knows, like, if he's telling this guy to do this, there's a good reason for it. But yeah, I also thought that too, that he was close enough to hear what was being said on the phone.
But either way, even from his perspective, he's gonna have no idea what they're talking about, other than to say, like, hey, I need to make a call. So Rita Shelton's car is found. She's missing. She gets on the phone with him, gives him the information, says, the fingerprint goes to some guy that's been arrested for years. He couldn't have killed that woman, much less, done anything recently. He says, what about Rita? They say don't tell him. She says he deserves to know. And then she gets back on the phone and tells him anyway. And they're pissed. They order her out of the room. He, again, has anger issues, takes it out on Chad. He says, you came in, storming in here. Did you ever think to look at the cold case? And he said, no, I didn't go down there because you told me it was here. The interesting thing is Chad never did tell him it was there. He just implied it to mess with him. And he chose to take it that way. So he's getting pissed off on multiple fronts for nothing.
Yeah.
Once again, once he gets a thought in his head, he has a very hard time adapting when it turns out that thought is incorrect. And he says, when did I tell you it was here? And he said, like, today. Oh, no, yesterday. That's the other thing. I notice he has a harder time keeping track of which rotation he's on when he gets agitated.
Mm-hmm.
He gets thinking, like, oh, I already did this. Oh, no, wait a minute. No, I didn't. It was last time. And he's trying to figure out how he's going to get the book, and the lights go out. And Chad says, well, I guess your time is up. Because they all know that means that they're coming in.
Yep.
And he sees some hangers and a roll of tape and says, so is yours. And he puts Chad out first. He's got a hanger around his neck, and he's got himself all taped up with a gun to his back so that if he dies, when he falls, he'll basically kill
Yeah, it's
Chad.
reference to the shotgun hostage. That was cool
Now,
to see.
now, a little known tip about. Can you go back to the gun on his back? Little known thing is, I mean, it's not common. There's I forget what it's called, but there's a band on your head, like right here. If you get shot in that area, your body's not gonna, no muscles will tense up and anything. But if you get shot somewhere else, like you're shot above that or below it in your head, but anywhere else, you likely will flinch and pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he did this. If they shoot him anywhere except that very small spot, he'll go down and pull the trigger, and that's because I forgot. I told my wife to come watch this episode, and she was like, "Why is like this makes no sense?" I explained to her about the band, and she's like, "Okay, now I understand."
Well, the other thing is that with the wire looped around his neck, even if he doesn't flinch, if he just drops, I would think that the wire would still cause him to pull the trigger anyway.
I was bringing up the clinching because when he falls, when a guy, you go slack.
Mm-hmm.
There is a.
If he falls, the finger won't pull the trigger.
Isn't that called the fatal T?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it cuts. It hits the medulla and cuts it right there. So there's no reaction or anything.
I think
right.
What are we saying, Kilo?
I was saying in the actual real life scenario where this happened, where a guy took a gentleman hostage with a wire trap shotgun around his neck. There's a point in that like multi-day hostage situation where one of them trips and falls low enough that the gun almost went off. They went down on one knee, and if it was any lower, it probably would have blown the guy's brains out.
Right.
So SWAT is coming up. He's got lots of guns pointed at him. And Chad starts talking about his honeymoon.
It was weird to hear this story again. I kept expecting Hopper to comment on it.
I think Hopper's got other things on his mind right now. But it is interesting to see it because, I mean, Rita still seems upset about the fact that Chad made her leave. And the story is so different from his perspective. Because his is so logical. Like, hers is so emotional and his is so, like, flat.
Yes.
The dog got killed. It's going to die anyway. There's nothing we can do. I spent a lot of money on dinner.
We got Dom on ice. Let's get out of here.
But the logic continues to, I know I made the right choice because anyone who's that caring that she cares more about a dog that's going to die anyway than an expensive dinner is perfect. And I don't know if it was that he appreciated how caring she was, or if, again, he tends to be this kind of rigid, logical guy, if he realized that she would balance him really well.
Yeah.
And he goes on to say that's why they didn't work, because Rita needs someone to fix. And
yeah,
he doesn't need fixing, which is an egotistical comment right after that.
Well, there are 2 points to that. One is she says the reason that she's with you is because she needs someone to fix and she feels sorry for you.
Yes.
I do like the fact that this is the first time we see him sweating. The other thing
Quick question.
Yep.
Does SWAT use laser sights?
Yes and no. It depends on the sheriff / chief. But generally, yes.
Okay.
But this is more for TV effect.
Yeah.
Well, and because this whole scene the ending to this scene doesn't work unless you can see.
Right.
He says, "Is that why she married you?" And he says, "No, it's why it didn't work out. Because I was fine, just the way I was." Which I found interesting. He doesn't say it didn't work because I'm fine just the way I am. So he says, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm just trying to get to cold case. You promised to release Chad if we brought your sister and Rita." And he says, "Yeah, but you failed." And then they show that they have Rita.
And
this made me think they had her all along, but they're just hiding her.
Not quite. That's not the impression I got.
Like, just look at her disheveled hair. Like they had her in the station the whole time, and kept telling the partner and telling him, "We found her car. We don't have her." But she was in another part of the station.
Well, but we also know that there's somebody who came through dressed as an officer, and who had free reign of the place, who then attempted to shoot Brett.
Yeah, we will learn in just a second that at least the SWAT team is in on the conspiracy. So
well,
at least some of them.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
at least 2 of them, including the guy in charge.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I
didn't get that.
I didn't get that either. I just
the guy in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, let's.
The head guy was just having this whole conversation was that, be a man of your word. You said you're going to let him go if we got the people you wanted.
But then he says, we need to know how serious you are. And the key term was, we need to know how serious you are.
And that's the thing that Brett emphasized over the phone call, is that I know how serious this is. That's
and
the thing
they
put the most emphasis on.
Yeah, and that's why I was. I'm sorry, Goat. That's why I was saying earlier. Like we find out now that the main SWAT guy is dirty. He's with them.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying earlier that it seems like he's the one like making the situation worse by putting it out there that like, oh, I think he's suicidal. He's saying goodbye.
Yeah, it's at least strongly implicated that that's. And this is one of those episodes that you go back and you watch it a second time and you see, once you hear him say that, you go back and you watch it a second time and you see all of these little details that you were like, "Oh, I wonder if." But they never, it's still a little ambiguous, like they never, it's heavily implied, because the other thing is that as soon as he says we need to know how serious you are, that's when the laser shows up on Rita's chest.
Yes.
And he says to Chad, "Do you see that?" And Chad says, "Yeah." So like any doubts that Chad had, at least about there being a conspiracy, pretty gone.
Yeah.
So he immediately starts yelling, "I confess, I did it, I killed Garza." She just looks heartbroken.
And then you see the dot disappear finally.
Darnell, do you still have sound? I just got a weird message.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I hear everything.
Well, I got a note that said like that your mic wanted to be added to the scene. So
No.
Oh, finally.
I'm in there listening. Yeah.
Yeah, so he confesses and then he says, as he's uncuffing him,
This is stupid.
he's like, "It was never loaded." And so Chad beats the shit out of him a little bit. even despite, he's just like, "Oh, you put me through all that for nothing."
Well,
The other
how did he
Sorry,
hit him
go
and flip him over? How did he hit him and flip him over him when he still had the hanger on his neck, the gun taped to his hand?
I assume because Brett let him.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, either way, how did he get him flipped over? Because when he flips him over, he's not held by the neck anymore. Like, how did the hanger come off?
I think he starts to take it apart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might have missed that part.
My bigger question was, he walked in, he took him at gunpoint, but the gun was already unloaded because there's been no time this whole time he could have unloaded his gun.
Mm-hmm.
Did he walk into the police station with it unloaded just
No.
in case he got
No.
into trouble?
No cop would ever have a gun not combat loaded. Never.
Well, hang on, let me finish what I was going to say.
Sorry.
He knows he's going into a police station. He knows things could go bad. He's already seen that he might get arrested. Does he go in with it unloaded so that they don't have an excuse to shoot
See,
him?
my assumption
No.
was that it was never loaded
Well-
when he had the contraption hooked up to Chad.
Well,
Oh,
Well, if he had unloaded it, they wouldn't have known he would unloaded it. They would
right. 'Cause-
treat it as a live firearm.
correct.
But
'Cause
him-
especially a Glock,
Him
there's
not wanting
nothing,
to kill anybody.
correct. Like,
that
but
would be the
especially
reason.
on a Glock, there's nothing showing the gun's loaded or not. There's a small piece that protrudes out that only if you're looking right at it, you can tell it's loaded or unloaded. But
the only way this works is if he literally walked in there intending to take a hostage.
which makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very
'Cause he
obvious he
did it.
didn't from the way it goes about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole "it was never loaded" thing, I have to assume, I think it's a flaw, and I think it's just there so that he doesn't look like a bad guy.
Mhm.
Because it does make him a little morally ambiguous if he's taking people hostage.
Yeah, because
It is kind of a feel-good moment between him and Chad. It hits well on an emotional level.
Yeah,
I love this expression. He's like, "Really?"
He's like,
Also
oh,
makes
it's
really?
this
not,
happen,
it's not
so we'll give it a
loaded.
pass.
Now I can kick your ass.
You
So
missed the cool judo throw.
he beats
Sorry,
the snot.
Chad.
Oh no, it's still around his neck. Look, the loop is still around his neck in this shot.
Okay.
So he's taken the tape off, but he didn't remove the wire.
Hanger.
But he apparently flips him over just so that he has an excuse to say, without anyone noticing, "I'll look out for her."
And then the next line. And this.
And then he says, "And if you're right, the book's on the front seat of my car." Did anybody else?
Meaning, I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, did anybody else laugh?
A little
Yes.
bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Kind
a
of giggled.
It's pretty good.
I giggled and I was like, "Oh yes, yes!" I kind of sat up and got excited.
It's like, you bastard. Like all of that for nothing.
You bastard, parentheses affectionate.
But it seems like
And
something Chad would do.
oh, absolutely. He says, I'm messing with you because I don't like you. So he's read his rights. And then day 3. He once again is at the police precinct, but this time he goes into the garage.
Something we missed, that after Chad flips him, he says, by the way, in case you're telling the truth, the book's in the front seat of my car.
Yeah, we just said that.
Did we not?
Oh, did we not
Yeah.
mention?
Yeah.
Wow, did I miss that?
Yeah.
Suddenly I'm in a time loop.
Yeah.
So he breaks into Chad's car, finds the murder book, makes sure it's the murder book this time, takes off with the alarm going. It doesn't. I can't get onto the shot. And leaves behind $117.53.
It's so good. You can actually, like, they only show it for a second, but you can pause and count the exact amount of money.
I did that.
Yep.
I did that.
Well, I caught the 53 cents, so I was pretty certain that the 117 was probably. I was like, if they made sure the pennies were correct in that shot, they probably made sure the whole thing was correct.
They did.
So yeah, and that is it.
Yep. That's why I said it didn't end on a cliffhanger, because the line he gave him was a cliffhanger, but then they show him act on it. That's why to me it wasn't a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a little bit of a cliffhanger, only in the sense that now we get to find out what's in the murder book. So.
Right, yeah.
So, all in all, people were reasonably happy with the episode. Is that the?
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. It was very stupid in places, but I loved it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this
Important distinction. Stuff can be very stupid and still very enjoyable.
It helps when Adam Baldwin's there.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
So I did an experiment. Eraserhead was my guinea pig. So I had this theory that the reason I enjoyed this show more than you guys is because I binged it in 2 days. And so I had an easier time keeping track of what happened in which loop. And I just watched it quicker. So I had Eraser.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, and you kind of knew the things we were saying didn't make sense. You knew if it was going to be resolved or not, or how it was resolved.
Right. So I had Eraser watch the next several episodes. And Eraser, you said that you thought it made some difference as far as enjoyment level?
Yeah, I think binging it certainly helps with enjoyment level. I still don't think that it, gets rid of all the show's flaws, because I also binged 1 through 4 as well as some of the other, episodes that come later. And even when you binge the early episodes, there are a lot of flaws. You notice them, and it does help with enjoying the show. It just doesn't still doesn't blind you to all of the flaws. But I do think it's a lot more fun if you just sit down in a night or two and bang out most of the show. It's weird, man. I feel like this is a show that was meant for streaming.
Only it came out before streaming.
Yeah. Because the thing is, my biggest problem is that if you binge the first 4 episodes, they're easier to get through just because you're banging them out all at once. I didn't hate the first 4 episodes, but they were very inconsistent. They were all over the place. And having to wait week after week, especially like when this was airing in 2006, to wait every week for, an okay episode that might possibly be, a mixed bag of shit. I feel like this was the episode that really made the show, or made me go like, okay, we're going somewhere. I think that the biggest problem the show had, back when it was coming out, is that you can't make your audience wait over a month for the episode that gets things going. Right. So yeah, binging through the show certainly helps you get through the muddier stuff quicker. And yeah, it was more enjoyable, but like I said, there are still flaws. I just think that from here, I think the pros start to outweigh the cons, where in 1 through 4, I feel like the cons were very much outweighing the pros.
Well, but you said in 1 and 3 that they were enjoyable enough it made you want to keep watching.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm talking about them as 1 through 4 kind of as a whole, like watching them in a block. 1 had its flaws, but was still enjoyable enough to make me want to see more. 2 was a fucking dumpster fire and a half. Like if I was if I'm watching this in '06 and I watch the first episode, I enjoy it, and then I watch that second episode, I might just fucking call it. I'm gonna be honest. Like that second episode was very hard to watch. You get to episode 3, which at the time I thought was the best episode so far, and it was a bit refreshing. But then you get to episode 4, and episode 4 certainly had its moments, but it was an inconsistent episode. And like I said, I feel like episode 5 is where the show really feels like it's going somewhere. I just think if this is a show that's going to come out week by week, you cannot make your audience wait that long to get to this point. Like, you either should have executed your first 4 episodes better, or you should have trimmed the fat, cut the bullshit, and have episode 5 take place earlier in the series, maybe like episode 3 or 4. I just, you can't be inconsistent and then make people wait this long.
Yeah.
But
I do think I agree with you on that. I think some of that again was that seasons usually were 22 to 24. And again, the same thing I said earlier. The X-Files had some really terrible Monster of the Week episodes to make that. And I think probably what happened was in episode 2, they were still expecting to do 22 episodes. Yeah. So you have several rotations as basically Monster of the Week, get to know your characters kinds of episodes. I agree that had they known they were only getting 13 episodes, you could probably chop most of that episode and not lose anything. But I also think there are many, many X-Files episodes that could have gotten chopped and
plus
lost nothing.
Did someone mention that the show got pulled off air after like episode 6 or something like that? Did someone say that, or am I making that up?
Nope, the original run only went 6 episodes. They had 13 made, and then
so
on DVDs and rewatches and stuff, they could get all 13.
So then, I don't know if it would, magically fix the show, but like I said, if you cut the first 4 episodes down to 2 or 3, and episode 5 takes place earlier in the season, I really think the show would have had at least a better chance of staying on air longer and not being taken off so early.
Well, except that, again, that's not why the show was canceled. The show was canceled because from day one, nobody watched it. The time slot was just weird. Same thing with Carnival. Like, Carnival was a great show, but it was in a weird time slot.
Hell, yeah, it was.
And nobody watched it. Space Above and Beyond. Weird time slot. Great show. Had devoted followers, but nobody watched it from day one, pretty much. And it just... I mean, honestly, it was dead in the water before it even started. So, yeah. Rachel says that's how we had to suffer, youngin'.
No,
but there have been.
It's just like I said, we shouldn't have to wait that long for something to get good. Like I said before, I usually have like a 3-episode rule where if I'm not into a show by the 3rd episode, I'm usually out. And waiting to I did enjoy the 3rd episode of this show, but waiting till episode 5 for it to really get going felt a bit long to me.
I lost what I was going to say.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't think it was that uncommon, though. I think slow burns were pretty... But I agree with you that if 2 was the first and only one I saw, I would think that this was probably not very good.
Yeah.
I mean, but there are episodes of Babylon 5, which is like my favorite show of all time. There are episodes that if that was the only episode I ever saw, I would be like, I don't understand why people like this show.
Yeah, but I also think Babylon 5's first season is still really, really great, where you're not, like, you do get shit episodes here and there, but the thing is, Babylon 5 had its start is fucking brilliant, dude. Like, it's really, like, the first season of Babylon 5, there's nothing you can really pick apart. Like, if you get a shit episode later on here and there, a filler episode, yeah, you could just cough it up to it is what it is. But you need a strong start. And
I
yeah,
I had a friend that initially told me that he hated Babylon 5 because he said, I've watched a few episodes here and there, and the whole show doesn't make any sense. I said, did you watch a few episodes in order? And he said, no. I said, you watch 3 episodes in order, and if you still don't like it, I will never mention it again. He watched 3 episodes in a row, and at the end of that 3 episodes, became more addicted to the show than I ever was. We lost power once, and he's like screaming, like, "I'm gonna miss Babylon 5!"
understandable, man. That is an understandable reaction.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. I want to thank everyone for coming, both chat and panel. I appreciate you all. I think this was a great discussion. I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
Hamiana says
Yeah.
every show has a shit episode too. Jacob, tell us where you're going to be.
Tomorrow night I'll be on Roman of the Empire show, talking. What was it? I'm having a brain freeze. Sorry. Body
Is it?
Snatchers.
Yeah, I
Invasion
was
of the
going to
Body
say
Snatchers.
Invasion of the Body
yeah.
Snatchers. And then my show Tuesday is X-Files, and then back here next week.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to get back to you about Tuesday, wasn't I?
Oh yeah.
Oh shoot. I will message you before I go to bed tonight.
Okay.
Eraser.
I'll be around. Yeah, you'll see me here and there. It's fun. Subscribe to places, do cool things. Don't be a dick.
that is fair.
Don't be a
Kilo,
Chad.
anything you want to? I know you don't usually have stuff for us to push, but occasionally you have suggestions you want to make. So
I'll be nowhere. Thanks, chat, and lovely spending the evening with you.
I don't think that's true. Actually, don't we have a review on Tuesday
Yes, we do.
at 5:00? I think.
Yep.
He's like, oh my god, I am somewhere. I do not cease to exist when this show is over.
Is that going to be live, or is that going to get published later?
Well, I was planning on it being live.
All right.
Mainly because EV Mux does not always allow me to do anything else.
Fair.
Every time I've ever tried to do it, it's like, no, you're going live whether you want to or not. So now I just give up and I just do it live.
Makes sense.
All right, Darnell.
So I'm on a lot of shows, but I'll keep it short. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central Time on a Killer Games Cast on Rumble and YouTube, or his Killer Games Mike on YouTube, one or the other. We'll do AI Dungeon, where we do a horror story every week. We call it the Panic Room, and we AI prompt the AI to tell a horror story. Right after that, at 9:30 p.m. Central Time on my channel, rumble.com/user/Darnell Quigley. I have 2 Civs and a Pig, where I'm and 2 friends of mine, we go over police body cam videos, and they ask questions. I give kind of like what I did here, give insight, and we just kind of like bring the 2 sides together to get to see, like, oh, this is why that was done, or yeah, this cop really crossed the line, he was a piece of shit, whatever. And Monday night Pop Culture Breakdown, 9 p.m. Central Time on Third Railify on Rumble. We go over pop culture the past week. And Tuesday night AI Dungeon with Moxie Dame. We're doing a space trucker type story at 11 p.m. Central Time. Lastly, if you go to my Rumble, check out the Sam Records channel on my Rumble. It's where I have a ton of AI music. Me and a buddy of mine, we prompt the AI for lyrics and the audio. We just put it together and give it to you to enjoy.
All right.
Yeah, I dropped the link for you, man. You're good.
Thanks.
So I don't have a whole lot going on this week. I have the review with Kilo on Tuesday, and then I'm back here on Wednesday. I am about half to 3/4 of the way through the script for my Battle Royale video, which might end up being more words than anyone I've done so far, which is, I mean, I'm not platoon, but I do tend to be kind of long-winded, so that'll be saying something. It's been a tremendous amount of fun to put together. And most of the videos are so bad they're funny, so I'm really trying to get some of that humor into the script so you can see which ones are amusing and which ones are just terrible. So I'm looking forward to getting that one out. I am unfortunately broke enough at this point that the subscription to my video thingamabob has run out, and I'm too broke to actually get a new one, so it might be a while before the actual video makes it out. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be out in the relatively near future. So again, thank you very much to everyone. I hope everyone has a great night. We look forward to seeing you back next week. Well, hopefully Tuesday and next week. And happy headbutting.
Take care, people.
Bye.
Hey.